The Schengen zone, the EU's border-free area, is one of the biggest success stories of the European Union. But I'm sure you've heard lately in the news about the squabbling between France and Italy that is putting Schengen currently under threat. Or is it? Joining me here today to discuss this is from the European Policy Centre, Mr. Yves Pascouau. Thank you very much for joining me here for a coffee this afternoon. So can you tell us exactly what is going on, between the Commission and the Member States, and what the proposals on the 4th of May were and what they could mean and what impact they'll obviously have on EU citizens and people watching this video?
Okay, good evening. Thank you for inviting me. Well, the story started with this reunion or with this meeting between Nicolas Sarkozy and Silvio Berlusconi, who has to modify the Schengen rules with regard to the possibility to restore internal border checks. And in fact, they sent a joint letter to Mr. Barroso and Mr. Van Rompuy arguing on that issue. The idea behind their heads, I think, is that they want to regain power on the Schengen question, meaning that if one partner, one member state, is not fulfilling its obligations to control its external border, member states would be able to restore, in that case, their internal borders. The question, what is at stake here, is that by doing so, these two member states are asking to revise the whole philosophy of Schengen, which is based on common mutual trust.
But what are the connotations of just Italy and France? Is it not we're supposed to be 27 member states? 27 member states decide. But in this case, it looks like very much a kind of Franco-Italian joint decision and joint operation.
Yeah, but this is a Franco-Italian story because Italy has asked for support from the European Union and its member states when Italy was facing the arrival of 25,000 people. And they considered that they did not have support enough. And then they said, well, if we do not have support, we will not support alone this situation, and we will award residence permits to those people arriving from Tunisia in order to allow them to move within the Schengen.
Or we're talking about economic migrants.
Yeah, we're talking about economic migrants. We are not talking about people seeking international protection. We are talking about people leaving Tunisia, and they are not fearing for their life, and they are just moving, not just moving, but they are moving for economical purposes.
And do you think that Europe is walking down a road of kind of institutional legislative racism, or do you agree with what Malström is doing at the moment, her cabinet?
I do agree with the answer given by the European Commission, because the European Commission has answered to the request put forward by Sarkozy and Berlusconi, but it did answer in such a way that it rejected the idea to renationalize Schengen and decided to say, well, if you want to tackle that issue and if you want to open up grounds to restore internal border checks, we can discuss that idea, but that idea will be only an EU mechanism that will allow that. In other words, the possibility to restore internal border checks is an EU question, and mechanisms in order to do so shall remain EU mechanisms.
And what do you think the outcome will be this week of the meeting between Malström and the member states? Do you think member states will agree with her?
I think it's a very long discussion that is open right now. The Commission will have to present a formal proposal, and that proposal will have to be discussed and approved by the Council and by the European Parliament. I do not have any feeling, because I think that the Commission has given signs to member states saying, well, I do understand your concerns and we can tackle that issue. But we're going to tackle that issue at EU level and with EU mechanisms. Will the member states allow that solution, approve that solution? It is not entirely sure. Some will, others will be more reluctant. But my feeling is that the European Parliament will be much more following the Commission's proposal, and some member states will be more reluctant.
Yves Pascouau from the European Policy Centre, an expert on migration issues. Thank you very much for clearing that up for us today and for joining us for a coffee.